All right, good morning. Today we're going to do a live tour of a part of the Arboretum. And we're going to try and highlight different areas of the Arboretum gardens and displays. And we are officially back to campus this week. Students started back, and so that's very exciting. And we welcome you to come and explore as well. Of course, while you're here, we have to follow the Temple University protocols. And so when you're here, you want to plan to wear a face mask, maintain your social distance. Remember, this is an active campus, so there's faculty, staff, and students around. And so it's important that we do our best to make sure they're safe as well. Of course, you want to wash your hands, and then don't come here if you're feeling sick. So that's going to be the protocol for the time being. And so if you choose to visit, please make sure that you're following all those protocols. And so we're going to start here. This is the Meeting House Road entrance to the campus. And I'm going to start with something a little bit gruesome. So we did put some tape, sticky tape, on our philodendron here. This is the Ambler cork tree, a non-native invasive tree species. And the spotted lanternflies really seem to like this. And so we've applied the sticky tape with a chicken wire blocking over it, which will help keep collateral damage from happening. So we really want to make sure that we are not capturing butterflies, bats, birds on this sticky tape, and that we're really only catching these harmful insects. And so this is here because they really seem to like this tree, and we wanted to show people that you should be putting up chicken wire with your sticky tape and not just the sticky tape alone. And so we're going to cross the road and enter campus. So cars are supposed to stop at the walkway and let you through, but sometimes they don't. And so now we're entering in through the trellises. And this entryway was designed by John Collins, who used to be the chair of the Landscape Architecture and Horticulture Department, and was a very well-known landscape architect in the Philadelphia area. And so here we have, again, the reminders about social distancing, wearing masks, and making sure you're healthy when you come onto campus. And so on this trellis, we have Campsis radicans, and you can see this is in full bloom, so a nice vine. There's Kat Mahalik. She's our curatorial horticulturist for the Arboretum. And so here we have trellis, and you can see it's really just covered with flowers this time of the year. And it's on both sides. There's matching trellis plants here. It's a little more shady over on this side, so it's not as dense as that on the other side. So it's a nice shady welcome, especially on a hot day like today. Okay. So we're going to continue up under this enormous sycamore. This tree is in every photo that we can find of the area. It's as old as anything else, it seems, around here. And we treasure it. So we're walking up, and it's our facilities building, and our landscape just really looks very full. So here's our Red Barn Gym. And the gymnasium is open for students to use. There are restrictions, of course, in there as well. You can go onto our website to find out all the details about that. And here we have our sort of entryway circle here. And we have some Nicotiana, some Scaviola, some Cleome. And the tree here is a pagoda tree. So this will be nice dappled shade as it matures. It was just put in about 1.5 years ago. So I wanted to show you our summer flowers. So we have some seed heads from the yarrow here. And we have a hibiscus here. I just love the variegated pink flowers of this particular hibiscus. The Japanese beetles have been doing some damage to the leaves, but it is still flowering and it's full of buds. It'll continue flowering very late into the summer and even into the early fall. It's very popular plants around here. They only last about a day, the flowers, but there's so many of them, you get a good floral display throughout the time. Sorry if I'm spinning you all too fast here. It's the Women's National Farm and Garden Association Visitor Center. And the entrance to the barn. See our silo. The plant here on the left with the pink clouds of flowers is called tamarisk. Now, in certain areas of the country, this has been planted to help stabilize stream banks, but it's become invasive and has outcompeted native plants because it has the ability not only to send its roots much deeper so that it can access water first, but also it accumulates salt and it can actually change the saltiness of the soil around it, which of course affects the native plant populations. Here we haven't seen any evidence of it being invasive. We haven't seen it popping up anywhere around here. It does grow very well and the pollinators really just love it. We always see when it's in bloom any number of bees, different types of bees on the plant. And even where it's considered invasive, it's been a little bit of a conversation because what they found is that an endangered bird has started using this invasive plant as its nesting habitat. And so the question then becomes, do you get rid of this because it's invasive, or do you keep it because an endangered bird has started using it to support it? So everything is a conversation. It's not just black and white, right? So clouds of pink flowers, this again is tamarisk. Clouds of pink flowers and just covered with bees. Really popular plant, and it's perfect because it blooms right when everybody's coming back to school. So it's sort of a bright pink welcome to everybody. We're walking up towards the Bright Hall entrance. So you can see the flagpole there. In Bright Hall, security is located there. So now we're at the Women's National Farm and Garden display area. And here's one of my favorite plants. This is blue plumbago, Ceratostigma plumblaginoides. I just like to say the scientific name. Why do I like this? Well, I just really love the true blue color. There just seems to be not much else that matches that, at least in the hardy plant world. I just love it. And it gets this great red fall color. To me, it looks wonderful with stone walls. It's a ground cover, so you can see it sort of has creeped over the walls and kind of has grown out of the wall crevices. Also looks really nice next to bluestone patios. Not native, but a hardy perennial. Again, we haven't seen any evidence of invasivity here. So you can see it here. And then we get into our visitor center display garden. And we have really loved this combination of, this is called cranberry hibiscus or African hibiscus. It's a non-hardy hibiscus, but the color, and they've just exploded. They really kind of like this hot, dry area. They're not hardy. So we will keep pieces of them or keep a couple of them to reuse in the future. We'll overwinter them in our greenhouse. But we really like the combination of this with our moon carrot. So the silver gray foliage of moon carrot is really fantastic. This had very great big, tall, almost 3 to 4 feet tall umbels of kind of carrot-like flowers, but enormous. And so the combination of these really with the different textures and colors of foliage is really something that we're delighted with. You can see that. Here's some of the flowers, the spent flowers. So these are all done. We're waiting to collect the seeds on these so that we can keep having them as part of our display because they're very successful. And what's great about this area here is if the deer aren't eating it here, there's a pretty good chance they wouldn't eat them in your yard either. We have a high deer population. And so we like to test plants to see if the deer will eat them. And you can see in here, these plants are doing very well. And the deer don't seem to bother them. And there's some salvia here. Some celosia. And I'll show you our cold frames while we're over in this area. The cold frames, of course, date back to the Pennsylvania School of Horticulture for Women, when the Women's National Farm and Garden Center Visitor Center here was a head house for a greenhouse complex. So this used to be a greenhouse complex on the other side in that lawn. And the cold frame supported that greenhouse complex. And now we're using it for different experimental purposes, for display purposes. So here we have our rainbow garden. We have our oranges and yellows and purples and pinks in here. The orange of these zinnias is almost iridescent. We really love those. And in this next bed, next two beds, we're experimenting with different types of mulch. And so in here we have a traditional hardwood mulch. And here's our white pine cone mulch. And our sweet gum fruit mulch. Hi, it's me in the shadows. And then the next cold frame, here's, we're experimenting with wool. Wool that can't be used for anything else. You can compost it. And so we're trying to keep waste out of the landfills and incinerators and that kind of thing. So we experimented, we read about it, about mulch being used, or wool being used as mulch in different areas. And so we're testing it out. You can see we have some breakthroughs of weeds in here. So we're learning, but it's an interesting experiment to see what we can use as mulch. And then here, in these two, the last ones, these are a caterpillar nursery. And so what we're doing here is growing all kinds of plants that butterfly caterpillars love. So the host plants for them. So you can see here we have this whole, we grew these from seeds. And it's just lots of milkweed plants here. And haven't found caterpillars on them yet, but there's lots of life on them. So we have a caterpillar nursery, a rainbow garden, a mulch demonstration area, just right in the cold frames. There's our nice display again. All right, now we're going to take you up to Bright Hall. Again, this is where campus security is. Right now we don't have restrooms open to the public, so you need to be prepared when you come to visit that you will not have access to restrooms. So you want to make sure of that. They're for students and staff and faculty at this point. And so we come to the flagpole. And here, you'd not believe it. So I talked about how deer are a problem. So even here where you have to walk up the steps onto the sidewalk and then into a raised bed next to a flagpole in front of a door, the deer are just causing problems. So this is Tithonia, Mexican sunflower. And the deer love Mexican sunflower. So we know in future years that this is a no-go. We won't keep planting this because the deer just keep bothering it. Here's a bud. Maybe we'll get to see that one open. You can see they haven't bothered the marigolds or the salvia. And so it's our flagpole garden. And then just give you a nice view down the way of the welcome that you'll receive in the gardens as you enter from Meeting House Road. We know that some people are still staying home, and we're happy to bring you the Arboretum by virtual tour, and we really can't wait till things are a little more comfortable and relaxed, and that we're able to welcome you all in. And until then, we'll see you virtually in the gardens and through the newsletter and our YouTube page. You can always find out what's going on in our programs that are happening at the Arboretum by visiting arboretum.temple.edu. You can find all the information you'd like to learn there. Thank you, and I'll see you in the garden soon.